The slasher has finally arrived in Dead by Daylight. After 10 whole years, Jason is here. With that said, with this video, I want to go over my first impressions on Jason, aka the slasher in Dead by Daylight. What his power does and what I think about him. Already getting this out of the way, I think he's a pretty exciting addition to me, as he does something I wanted for a killer to do a while. And if you watched my latest video on how I would rework the Nemesis, you could probably guess why. Jason is a projectile killer that takes tri-specific props and throws them at survivors. Though I wanted Nemesis to fulfill that niche, and also it would play more into the fantasy of what Nemesis is supposed to be, I'm fine with Jason taking up that space. I really love this projectile. Throwing a spear shows him at being an expert on handling multiple weapons. I always liked it when Jason is portrayed in that type of way. The man spends lots of time being isolated in the forest, so sure, he has time to practice some survival skills. The spear throw also incorporates his brutishness, as whenever you land a spear, the sheer force drags the survivor that Jason throws the spear with. The main purpose of this feature is that whenever you hit a survivor in the right angle that has already been injured, they will be pinned against the wall. This power is just sheer brutality, as you also have to consider he can special mori survivors that are speared. All of this though is just one half of his power, as we now get to talk about the, what's it called, omnipresent evil. Though I have mixed feelings about this ability, I can understand why they incorporated it. I think they wanted to checkmark everything Jason is known for. Disappearing out of nowhere and reappearing bursting through a wall is pretty much a Jason thing. It's a very atmospheric power as well, as fog engulfs the entire map, and it's not out of place entirely with the other part of his power, as you can grab a spear whilst you have entered Omnipresent Evil, and you also have to consider that Jason is a 4.4 killer. He needs something for map traversity, therefore. And before I want to get into my nitpicks and issues I have with him, I want to bring light towards how good the visuals actually are of this chapter. Like, I love that he has different types of spears, and the entire fog thing is also very good. I love how atmospheric it is. I already mentioned that it is, but it really is. And also, please read the bio. It is one of the most hilarious reads I have had in Dead by Daylight, confirming that this Jason is pretty much an original iteration, just like Ghostface. That aside though, my first issue with his power is that he feels kind of like being a superior version of killers like Springtrap or even Xenomorph. Yes, in minor details they work differently from another, but they all are stealth killers who are also projectile killers who also have a map traversity tool. And I think out of all of these, Jason is the most superior version, as all of his tools are pretty much available at all times. Scrap piles and hooks are pretty much everywhere, and Omnipresent Evil has a pretty short cooldown. I really like that they made it so whenever you hook a survivor, you reload your spear when you don't have one at hand. Though I think it is not worth enough of an incentive to go for the hook instead of letting a survivor lie on the ground and go for someone else. It's an incentive nonetheless and rewards the player for actually hooking a survivor. But this also favors my point even further. He can claim a spear anytime, pretty much everywhere. Looking at Xenomorph, whom you don't have to reload with, but when you get burned, you need to enter your map traversity tool, aka your control stations, which they can be placed depending on the map. Very unfortunate sometimes. Or you wait out until you get your power on the surface back. But if you haven't cleansed pellets, you're probably just wasting time. Both Xenomorph and Springtrap have their map traversity tool limited by being stationary, and therefore are not able to enter it at all times. My comparison towards Xenomorph is, I think, even more valid, as he is able to track survivors' footsteps whilst in his Omnipresent Evil. They all work in their own way. But in the grand manner, I think Jason has the potential to surpass both of them, as he doesn't waste your time with long cooldowns or the need to claim your power from a further distance. The other issue I have, and that's just how it works, he is a big IP, a very big license, and he will overload the killer QueQue Times. I'm not bashing here on the IP and the specifics. This is just something everybody in this game has to deal with once he hits live. Especially also due to him being a solo killer release, but also being a pretty big IP as well. But again, we all have to go through this. I'm just worried that this killer will have a Huntress Effect on me, being played so much that I just cannot stand going against this killer anymore. It happened with Wesker, it happened with Huntress, and to many others it probably happened with Ghoul. Lastly, I have to address something with Jason that I've noticed in behavior's design pattern when it comes to killers. It is not just a power creep thing, it doesn't also apply to all killers, but we needed something else than another projectile killer. And I'm not sure if the Judgment is the next killer on the block, but we all know by now that the Judgment is also that, a projectile killer. With that, I'm not claiming that Jason should have been a trap killer. It just might be the time that the next original killer after the Judgment better have something to do with area control now. Those are pretty much all my thoughts on Jason gameplay specific. I just want to use the ending of this video now to celebrate his coming, as without him we probably wouldn't have even gotten Dead by Daylight in the beginning. He's named the slasher for a reason. He might not be the first, but he definitely is one, if not the one, who made the archetype of the guy with a machete such a household name. With DBD even being intended to have him at the start of the game, and now after 10 whole years, he finally is here. Happy anniversary, everybody. I hope it's gonna be another 10 wild and unbalanced years upon us. That's it for me. Don't get lost. Wait. They haven't. Nah.